Hello and welcome to Dojo Live this Thursday, June 13th, 2024. This is the fifth episode of our series, The Hospitality Advantage, Real Stories of AI in Action. I'm your host, Kim Lantis, and today we're thrilled to have again with us David Chestler, President of Provision Partners. Thank you, David. Hey, and also joining us are Ravneet Ghuman, who is the head of data science and machine learning at Switchfly, as well as Rodrigo Vargas, VP of generative AI at Encora. Welcome, Ravneet. Welcome, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
No, pleasure is ours. It's our pleasure. We're delighted to have you here, because it's a really, really interesting topic. Today, we're diving into real-world applications again, and also future insights for AI and hospitality, touching on the data side, which you both are experts in. But before we kind of dive into that, I would like to remind our audience what we've kind of seen so far. Thus far, we've kind of explored the benefits of data sharing across disparate systems. We've touched on how AI technologies are bridging the gap between the front of house and back of house operations for hotels, and the critical role of data and cloud infrastructure in deploying AI in hospitality. And why are we doing all this? What's the end all? Basically, right? Enhanced communication and collaboration, improved guest experience, increased employee satisfaction, and of course, operational efficiency. So you can catch all of those past episodes here on Dojo Live. But again, today we're going to be revisiting how AI relies on data and cloud for its infrastructure, but we're also going to focus on the real world applications. I know that Ravneet has some case studies and use cases for us. But before we do, we'd like to get to know the two of you a bit better. Let's start with you, Ravneet. If you could please share a bit of your background and your passion for what is data, machine learning, and travel and hospitality.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I've been in the field of data and AI for over 15 years now, and currently I serve as the head of data science and machine learning at Switchfly. Throughout my career, I've had the privilege of working on numerous innovative projects and securing multiple patents. My passion for travel and hospitality industry stems from the personal love for travel and food, as well as the incredible potential that data science holds to revolutionize how we experience travel. Whether it's optimizing customer experiences, enhancing operational efficiencies, or predicting trends, I believe that data science can continue to transform this industry in exciting ways.
Thank you. I believe so too, and I'm excited to see and hear from you about how that's already happening. But before we do, Rodrigo, what's your story, your background, and also your passion for the industry?
Hello, and first of all, thanks for having me. I've been in the IT industry for probably a bit more than 20 years, and I've seen the evolution of AI since the early years of my career. I've been mostly engaged with everything related to technology across different industries. I now serve as the VP of Generative AI for Encora, which is this new kid on the block, Gen AI, and we've have other conversations on how Gen AI is different from how we call it traditional AI or machine learning, and how it blends together with the other technologies, with cloud, with data. But the evolution that I've seen with the technology itself now with AI and how it's meant to shape how we engage with computers. And in this specific case we're talking today about, which is travel and hospitality, how it's looking to reshape how we travel, how we engage with hotels, with airlines, how we shape our own personal itineraries. It's a really powerful technology. We've dig deeper on few use cases that we have started to see, but we're just getting started. So really looking forward to this conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to provide insights on what AI can do for the travel and hospitality business now and in the future.
Absolutely. So you touched on, or you mentioned some of these use cases, of course. So Rodrigo, let's start with you. What are some of the trends that you're observing in the market? How are travel and hospitality companies leveraging AI to create tangible benefits, right? What's happening right now?
So, and Praveen was mentioning earlier something which is operational efficiency. Obviously, that ties into the back office, and this is a very powerful area where companies have started to adopt AI, making sure that they adopt the technology not only to reduce cost, but to serve the customers better, to have faster responses, to provide better responses and faster solutions. Let's remind that, and I put myself in the travel person's shoe. I do travel myself. Who doesn't like to travel? But the thing is that when you're out there, and you suffer some disruption, whether that is in your flights or your bookings, then you really get stressed out. So you're really looking to a fast response and actual solution to your issue. So operational efficiencies, that's a great area to actually serve better your customers. So that goes beyond, business process optimization, and it ties back to that better customer experience. If we get to the front-facing areas, we can see hyper-personalization happening across the board, whether it is personalized travel itineraries, being able to create my own travel itineraries based on my own personal preferences or constraints, for example. So if I'm going to Toronto for one day because my flight got canceled, what's in it for me? I can just go in there somewhere that is enabling this really powerful natural language interface and ask, what can I do in Toronto? What should I not miss in this day that I'm stranded here? And so it really helps you navigate the complexity of getting to know a city that you were not supposed to be there, but you can make the most out of that. I won't call it bad experience, because you can get to know a city and in such a way that you can maximize your time there. So that hyper personalization, right at the point of your fingertips, right there in an instant, it's really powerful. That you didn't have that before. You really needed to go back to this search engines and look for different forums, and you had to spend 1 hour, 2 hours looking for comments, websites, articles, finding what will work best for you.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have the possibility to actually do that in just a few minutes. That's just one really powerful use case that you can use right now. And there are others. There are others that will allow you to create very specific, packages for your entire, travel journey, or self-service support. For example, again, if your travel plans are disrupted, you can do self-service. You're not tied to business schedule on people enabling that support interface for you. You can just go in there into automated systems and you can resolve issues by yourself. And even there are companies that have started to go even one step beyond that, which is being proactive. And if there's something that is going to happen with your flight or your hotel, you get an email right there, and your issue is resolved before you actually experience the issue yourself. So there's a lot of things happening. I can go beyond that, but those are 3-4 really powerful examples on how Gen AI or AI in general, it's improving the experience for travelers.
For sure, to find the silver lining of that dark cloud, or making lemon out of lemonade. Excuse me, the other way around. Lemonade out of lemons. That's lovely. And your Toronto example actually echoes what I think Manuel Cuillo spoke about on our previous show of this series.
That happened. We just got to the hotel. What should we do now that we're stranded here? We pull it up, ask a few questions, boom, let's go there. and we spent a lovely afternoon there.
I love it. David, what are you hearing? Anything else that you'd like to add to that list before we dive in with Ravneet and the specifics of how Switchfly is utilizing AI technologies?
No, I think it's great to hear Rodrigo share this. It's back to how are you using the AI and how are you facing either customer or colleague? The internal analysis where you have access to the data is so important, because that then frees you up to understand it and analyze it. So I think when you work through the organization and the different silos that you experience, either on the supply side, the hotels and operations, or the demand side that are generating the interest and personalization, they need to work in combination in a very orchestrated fashion to optimize the conversion, the interest, all of the data that's needed to make that experience come to life on a screen. And I think capturing the information is so very important so that you can then make better decisions from data. And I think that's the part that we're all going to continue to see, is the data and the cloud are going to be consistent messages that you need to enable, you need to modernize, you need to transform to achieve some of these measurable results. Even though they might be seemingly giant projects, you can make them iterative and step change in order to have more success. And I think that's the part that I'm interested to hear Ravneet talk about, is how do you take these technologies that we're talking about and actually apply them either to customer and search or data and optimization. And that's the exciting part of these shows, Kim. That's what I enjoy.
For sure, for sure. Forgive me if I'm speaking over you. I think there's a bit of a lag with the connection. But on to you, Ravneet. Let's talk about Switchfly, your company that you're working with, and how you're utilizing AI technologies. And if there's any specific use cases or case studies that you can share.
Sure. I see the two terms, e-commerce and recommender systems, as highly correlated. Being in the travel e-commerce business, we at Switchfly use AI for a number of recommender systems, or as Rodrigo was calling it, front of the house operations or use cases. And we also use AI for operations or back of the house use cases. To take one example of a longer running recommender system that we have at Switchfly, we introduced a similar hotel recommender so that when a user is in a discovery or booking journey for a hotel, that user can go from the hotel that they are interested in to other very similar hotels, and mostly using property information so that we can serve unbiased recommendations to the user. We ran a case study recently to see how a longer running system like this had been doing, and measured for various clients the effect. And what we observed was that users who interacted with these recommendations converted on an average 20% higher than users who did not use these recommendations. This is one example where improving user experience becomes a win-win for both the user as well as for Switchfly, and all powered through AI.
Wow, 20% is, I think, a very significant increase in the success of bookings. What would these interactions look like for the users in terms of these recommendations that are being put forward, and what's the kind of data behind it can you dive into that a little bit?
Sure. So like I mentioned, the idea was to present unbiased recommendations. You may see, if you go to top e-commerce sites, some of those recommendations are sponsored, meaning there's an element of markup or profit that the platform makes as an element of recommending something. But here our goal was to recommend something that is more valuable for the user. And so all we looked at was property information. So everything about hotels, whether you talk about amenities, any other element, it could be description, it could be pictures, it could be any data point about a property. Not so much how much money we make, but more how similar two properties are just from the data points about those properties.
Interesting. I'm also curious, and Rodrigo, I mean, chime in on the technology that you're hearing about. But in terms of similar properties, I understand that also part of the advantage of machine learning, AI, all the data that's out there is also to have an understanding of my preferences, but not necessarily even this ability to delight, to surprise me. Is there this ability to sort of read between the lines so that I'm not just seeing 5 basically of the same hotel in front of me, but something that even I might be like, whoa, that's perfect, and it hadn't even occurred to me. Is that currently possible?
So I'll say that if the data is readily available, the technology makes it possible. One of the huge transformations that we've seen in the industry and use cases in the past few years is how can we untap the value of the high volume of data that gets generated every single day. And before, you needed a lot of effort and a huge IT team to actually make sense out of that data. Creating these pipelines, data transformation, data aggregation, storage, and then leverage that data to forward some of those recommendation engines. That really takes time. But now it has become easier to actually use unstructured data. And by unstructured, I mean even videos, audios, comments from social sites, or even the comments that go from feedback from users, from back channels and from channels. So all that can be leveraged in order to forward these recommendation engines to improve them, because they're really good at what they do. But we can use additional sets of data rapidly before beyond going through those processes that takes a lot of time, months even. And make it then part of the recommendation system so that we can better serve the customer's needs.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Ravneet, what's your take on this?
I wanted to chime in and say, when I look at data, essentially there are 2 types of data: explicit or implicit. Explicit is when a user says, you give a survey to a user and user says, I like this or I don't like this. Implicit is you observe users' behavior on a site. So if user spent 5 minutes looking at a hotel, it's very likely that the user is interested in that hotel. If you dig deeper, user clicked on, say, 30 of the 50 images, that shows user is even more interested in that hotel. So kind of using these data points, implicit and explicit, I think it is possible to make very good recommendations. But with any recommender system, it's a balance of novelty and diversity. So how new do you want the recommendations to be, or how different you want to be? That's kind of a test and learn process. Almost always you run A/B testing or some kind of testing offline, online, and monitor what kind of users, what do users respond to, and that's kind of the ongoing thing. And like David touched upon the cloud part, how new tools and technologies are making it easier to do some of this monitoring, retraining. So that kind of blends in and creates some of those exciting recommendation scheme that you mentioned.
I love it. What about, you mentioned, this is sort of that front facing use case. You also mentioned, some of the back of the house, or what we don't see. What are some use cases there of how you at Switchfly are able to apply your AI technologies?
Sure. I think one one of the use cases that the first one that comes to mind is hotel unification. As most OTAs get hotel data from multiple suppliers, hotel A from supplier 1 needs to be matched to the same hotel from supplier B. And what you have is, say, kind of name and address information, because they don't share same IDs or identifiers. So you could use, or we use AI to sort of link these together. And that way we can give the best price or best option to the user.
Interesting. David, what's your take? Your experience in the industry and what you're hearing.
Yeah, I think it's critical that you have an idea of how you want to deploy said technology in your commercial environment. We talked about it before, Kim, about AI washing versus specific utilization of AI technology to optimize personalization, to enhance the presentation of data content, so that, again, it could recognize a traveler or a prospect coming in from a specific site or location at a time, or using a specific credit card or similar. A lot of understandings can be made using large amounts of data to try and present better offers. If it is during the day and it is, a certain zip code or similar, can I present certain responses or content to optimize that search and experience? Do I use questioning or even conversational AI in my service delivery, support, or sales in order to get the consumer through a series of questions to the right person at the right time, right? And then it's optimizing the content that you're showing using AI and similar to make sure you have specific bespoke data for the properties, destinations, but also how many rooms exist with a specific view for promos or packages, as Ravneet and Rodrigo talked through. And I think it's, how do you apply this across business units or silos and make sure that you have all stakeholders aligned in how you want to deploy, and the critical systems and methodologies that are needed to ensure that you have the right data, that you have the right inventory. I mean, that's what AI is, I think, is really going to be helping with, not just, helping with coding or writing training manuals out of generative AI once knowledgeable about your business, the learnings that go on and the QA and A and B testing and all of that is really helping to create more of a network or a fabric of information to help the users, consumers, and colleagues optimize and have a better experience. And that's what we're excited about AI really doing to the industry, is making everyone more efficient and making the experience better.
Right. And I think that's a really good transition into this future insights that we want to touch on, looking ahead, what we foresee with data, cloud, AI in travel and hospitality, specifically, with current opportunities and also those constraints. So let's sort of start with you, Rodrigo. What do you see? Like, where is it headed? How fast is this going to happen?
David mentioned a few key points that I wanted to highlight. And it's all about the user experience. It's all about the journey from the ideation through the booking to the actual living the experience, and how data plays an important role there. So now we know that we have all this data that we can make available and infuse that into these processes, whether those are the back office or the front office processes, and provide a better experience. It's all about tying everything together, because data lives in silos. And also there's a few things that, as Ravneet was saying, it's the data that I'm not being explicit about. It's my behaviors that should drive also some of those recommendations or some of the actions that these systems will provide. So tying everything together it's, I think, the gap that needs still to be resolved, because that will uncover a completely different experience for us travelers. That means that the hyper personalization won't happen just at the itinerary builder phase. It will happen in the entire journey, end to end. The systems will become more proactive. Issues will be solved without me knowing that there were actually issues that were happening. And so the experience will happen flawlessly. That's the ultimate goal. I think that when those silos are broken and there's a cohesive experience, both in terms of data, access to technology, then we will see an industry where people will, they will experience travel in a different way. There will be, these pre-made packages for everyone. Every single company will tailor an experience for every single customer, and that's real powerful. We have the assets available. We just need to make everything tied together.
Thank you. What needs to happen for those silos to be broken down and for this constraints to be removed?
Well, that's organizational structure. Yeah, it's organizational structure too, right? And how they are able to support. What we found, and McKinsey did some analysis and showed that literally if the C-suite and the operations are aligned in the deployment of said technology, it has a greater likelihood of success. If you have individual units in the silos that are testing, you're not going to have C-suite to operations alignment. And that's really going to be difficult. You're going to be testing, but not perfecting. And I think that's really the difference. Is it's easy, and I use that word, but you can test a lot of things, but actually optimizing it the way Ravneet suggests or Rodrigo suggests, that takes time and effort. This is not a one and done scenario, right? This is an ongoing engagement, learning experience. And I think that's important. And the numbers are showing it. There were some statistics, and I don't have them all at my fingertips, but the number of people playing with generative AI and similar, that number is reasonable, but it's not crossing over into the business as much. But you start to look at the real numbers, 77% of the platforms that people are engaging with are using AI. But only 33% of the people using it know that it has AI. So there's this perception, understanding, and utilization gap that I think we're experiencing right now as companies experiment and they start to look from the C-suite to say, we need to get involved in AI. Look at all the stock market movement on what's happening with AI. We need that. What does that translate to the operation? And that's where you need across silos, that sharing and understanding from the stakeholders, what's critical, what do we need to optimize, what, with the packages, we could make the standard packages, but that customization takes additional information. And that's where I think we're going to continue to see testing and iteration, right?
Thank you. What's an if to your ability, Ravneet, of course, what's Switchfly moving toward? What are some of those future shifts that you're seeing happening and of course helping to build and create?
I think we could probably talk at length about the topics David and Rodrigo touched upon, but I'd highlight a few key aspects. I think there is the data side. Like if there is an estimate that we would generate about 181 zettabytes of data by this year or next year, which is to put things in perspective, it's about 300 plus trillion images. That's how much data we would generate. So that's the data side. On the other side is the technology, so AI or machine learning, which will continue to improve in a way that it can harness this data and make sense out of it. So, I do see personalization moving towards making experiences better. So I see things like even images are very personalized to each user. The content, like David was saying, overall is very specific to a user. If a user does not like to see images or content, maybe we don't show those things to a user. If a user is very content driven, we show the most relevant content upfront. Uh, I can also see advances in Gen AI and cloud technologies that would make it quicker and easier to adopt AI solutions. But however, I would highlight a crucial aspect that for us as practitioners is to prioritize responsible AI usage, uh, ensuring that we hold ethical standards and we maintain data privacy. Uh, Overall, I think that future holds exciting possibilities, and key would be to navigate these advancements both responsibly and innovatively.
I think that is an absolute great way to wrap up today's show. We've already gone through our complete half hour, if you can believe it or not. And thank you all, and thank you to our audience for sticking with us these few extra minutes. Ravneet, Rodrigo, it's been a pleasure learning from you both today. Starting with you, Ravneet, where can viewers find more information about you, speak with you if they'd like, or of course, the great work that Switchfly is doing?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. To learn more about Switchfly, go to switchfly.com. There is a resources or blog section. You can see or learn more about the exciting work we're doing there.
All right, thank you. And you also, Rodrigo, how might we kind of keep up with you, connect with you, and learn more about Encora's Gen AI, excuse me, solutions and solutioning?
Same thing, LinkedIn and company profile, Encora.com. You can see there, we publish a lot of thought leadership content on things that we're doing with clients across different industries. Some of them include travel and hospitality, but we also tap into, the technical vision on Gen AI, the challenges, where we're headed. So plenty of information there, but feel free to connect directly.
Thank you. And David, it's been a pleasure as always. I hope you don't float away there in Florida. It seems you bring the rain with you wherever you go.
Scared.
But I do look forward to continuing the conversation with you on our 6th episode of the series. That's going to be coming up on July 11th. Yes, you heard that right. July 11th, almost a month from now, because we've got a couple conferences in there, and then the 4th of July, which just nobody wants to watch a podcast on the 4th of July. But it's going to be worth the wait because we're going to be doing a high-tech recap show. And of course, between now and then, you can catch our regular Dojo Live shows at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific. And next week, for example, we're going to be speaking with Noel Outlaw, who is the CEO of Switchfly. So we'll see you then on Wednesday, the 19th. Everyone, thank you again, and bye for now.